All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our BCBA exam practice series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're turning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass our exam or your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A teenager always slams the door when leaving his bedroom. To reduce this behavior, his mom tells him to open and close the door gently 20 times immediately after he slams it. What type of overcorrection is being implemented? When we think about overcorrection, we're thinking of three different types. We have positive practice, negative practice, and restitutional. With positive practice, we are making the learner engage in the correct behavior over and over. With negative practice, it's the opposite. We're making the learner engage in the incorrect behavior over and over. And restitutional overcorrection has to do with repairing the environment to a better state than before. So when this teenager slams the door and the mom makes him open and close it gently 20 times, is she making him do the right behavior, the wrong behavior, or repair the environment? Well, the mom is making him do the right behavior. He is slamming the door. The mom wants to reduce it, so now he must shut the door gently. What type of overcorrection is being implemented? Positive practice overcorrection. A coach is teaching a swimmer to perform a new stroke. Initially, the swimmer requires a physical prompt to position their arms correctly and verbal cues to maintain proper form. As the swimmer begins to master the basics, the coach starts fading the prompts and reinforcement while maintaining eye contact and occasionally nodding. This change leads to the swimmer consistently executing the correct form without additional prompts in practice, but struggling to replicate the stroke during competitions. Given this information, which of the following would be the best strategy to promote generalization? All right, so long question with a lot of information. We want to promote generalization of this swimmer's swimming stroke because we know the coach taught her to perform a new stroke with prompts and verbal cues. The swimmer began to master it, so the coach faded the prompts and the reinforcement, but then the change, which was consistent in practice, did not replicate the competitions. So given all this information, what would we do to promote generalization? What's the best strategy? A, use a prompt delay in practice to increase independent responding. We're already okay in practice, right? She can already do it in practice. That's not really our concern that she won't respond in practice. So A doesn't really accomplish what we're setting out to do. B, introduce a graduated guidance procedure to improve form. Well, we've already faded the prompts pretty heavily, almost removed them, and it's not necessarily the form, it's the form outside of practice. So B doesn't necessarily help with generalization either. So that leaves us with C and D. C, train in different environments with reduced prompts, or D, use a token system to reinforce form in different settings. Now, both of these are targeting generalization, except one is consistent with what the coach has already done. He's already removing the prompts. He's removing the reinforcement systems. The swimmer knows how to do the behavior. It just needs to happen in other settings. Additionally, he now has this eye contact and nodding, which could potentially be used as social reinforcement. Implementing a token system is taking several steps back, considering he's already faded everything out. So given the information, the best strategy to promote generalization would be to train in different environments with the reduced prompts. The ideal situation is once you're training in different environments with the same setup here, that generalization will occur and then maintain. John knows if he wants to stay out on Saturday night, he needs to ask his mom. If he asks his dad will just say no. Dad functions as a what? Pretty classic situation where you have a person, John, wants to stay out, and he has his mom and his dad. And the question is asking about the dad. If he wants to stay out on Saturday, he goes to his mom. Why would John go to his mom to stay out on Saturday? Well, potentially the learning history says mom might say yes. But learning history also shows that if he asks his dad will say no. So John no longer does what? He no longer asks his dad. His behavior has decreased because dad punished the behavior by saying no. So what is dad functioning as? A discriminative stimulus for punishment. Yes, dad is signaling to John, there's punishment available if you ask to stay out on a Saturday night. What about B, discriminative stimulus for reinforcement? Mom is potentially a SD for reinforcement because John goes to ask her, and there's a chance she might say yes. C, stimulus delta for punishment. Dad is not a stimulus delta because a stimulus delta signals the unavailability. Since dad is signaling the availability, he is the discriminative stimulus. Specifically, he's discriminative stimulus for punishment. What type of behaviorism does not include private events in the analysis of human behavior? All right, easy behaviorism question, right? What are our two main branches of behaviorism? We have methodological and radical. Radical is what we practice. It's what Skinner promoted, and it's where we believe public and private events are both behaviors worthy of analysis. The only difference between public and private events are that private events are not observable. Methodological behaviorism, however, implied that private events should not be included in the analysis of human behavior. So if you get a behaviorism question that discusses the exclusion of private events in the analysis of human behavior, that is going to be talking about methodological behaviorism. You visually analyze a graph based on data your technician recorded. The graph shows that a client worked for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 23 minutes, and 11 minutes. What is the average duration worked? Straightforward average question, but it's here because we need to practice, right? We have to make sure we know how to find averages and totals. How do we find an average? To find an average, we're going to add up all of our data points and then divide by the total number of points. So we're going to add up 15 plus 20 plus 23 plus 11, which gives us 69. And then we divide it by the total number of data points, which is 4. And that is going to give us our average of 17.25 minutes. Pretty straightforward question, but it's good practice, right? Good awareness. You need to know how to find averages. You need to know how to find totals on your exam. During a break at a community center, a group of teenagers leaves their area a mess by knocking over chairs and spilling snacks on the floor. The supervisor requires them not only to clean up the mess they made, but also to mop the floor and organize all the chairs in a neat arrangement. Which type of overcorrection procedure is being used? Okay, we just went through our overcorrection procedures, right? Either we are having the learner do the right behavior repeatedly, the wrong behavior repeatedly, or repairing the environment. In this case, during a break, teenagers left the area a mess. Their supervisor made them clean up the mess and then also mop the floor and organize chairs. So not only did they have to repair the environment, they had to repair the environment to a better state than before. So what type of overcorrection procedure is that? Is it negative practice overcorrection? Well, no, negative practice would be repeating the wrong behavior. Positive practice would be repeating the right behavior. Mass practice is like negative practice, but a self-management strategy. So this is going to be restitutional overcorrection. We are repairing the environment to a better state than before. As behavior analysts, we want to target behaviors that are meaningful to our clients and the people around the clients. In order to fulfill this obligation, we should focus on what above all else? When we talk about targeting behaviors that are meaningful, we want to make significant changes in our client's life, right? Things that matter. Because as a behavior analyst, you might get asked to target behaviors or teach things that aren't necessarily going to make a massive change in your client's life. And it's up to you to prioritize the things that are going to affect not only the client, but the client's stakeholders and the environment around them. So if we want to target behaviors that are meaningful, what are we focused on? A, behaviors that are chosen by stakeholders. Well, not necessarily, because not every behavior chosen by a stakeholder might fit the idea of meaningful behavior. Sometimes it's just an annoying behavior that the stakeholder wants to change, but that doesn't mean it's the best behavior to target. B, behaviors that are easy to change. Just because they're easy doesn't mean they're meaningful. We're not here to just do the easiest thing and take the easy way out. C, behaviors that are chosen by the client. The client might have preference to what they want to target. And sometimes we might agree if we have time and the resources. But ultimately, we were focusing on socially valid behaviors above all else. That is the applied behavior analysis. Rico continuously measured his client's self-injury over a 2-hour session. Self-injury occurred 35 times, 40 times, and 27 times in relative to each session. Self-injury lasted anywhere from 1 to 3 seconds, and the average duration was 1.9 seconds. What should Rico measure if he wants to target the behavior for decrease? This is an interesting question, right? We want to target the behavior for decrease. And when we choose our measurement, we want a measurement that's going to most accurately reflect the true value of the behavior. So in Rico's case, the client is engaging in self-injury, and it looks like it's happening a lot. Over a 2-hour session, happened 35 times, 40 times, and 27 times. If you look at duration, though, it only lasts about 1 to 3 seconds. So if he was to target behavior for decrease and he targeted duration, well, it's going to be very difficult to get it under 1.9 seconds, which is the average. Even if you get it down to 1 second, it's still occurring at a very high rate. So given that information, what do we want to target for decrease? A, latency. We don't have a latency measurement here, so we don't know how long it takes for the self-injury to start after an SD. So we're not going to target that. Duration. Again, duration, the average is 1.9 seconds. It goes as low as 1 second. Even if we decrease it, we can't go that far, right? The best case is you decrease it to 0 and you're eliminating it anyway. What we want to target here is rate, because the rate is very high, 35, 40, and 27 times. We can start to see meaningful change in our data. If we're taking data on duration change, that data is not going to be very sensitive because it's such a small gap and such a small amount. And then magnitude. Magnitude has to do with intensity. We aren't necessarily discussing intensity here, right? Rico wants to target the behavior for decrease. We need to start measuring rate. A researcher is teaching mice to discriminate between visual stimuli, a solid red circle and a solid blue circle. To avoid errors, the researcher initially presents a bright red circle next to a faint blue circle, which increases the visual intensity of the red circle. As time goes on, the blue circle's brightness is increased until it matches the red circle. What procedure is the researcher using? All right, so let's think about this, right? We have a visual stimuli or 2 visual stimuli and a solid red circle and a solid blue circle. And the difference is the bright red circle is much more salient than the faint blue circle because the visual intensity is increased. But over time, the blue circle's brightness is increased until it matches the red circle. So what we've done is we've faded out the presence of the red circle by increasing the blue circle's brightness. So what procedure is the researcher using? A, response fading. Now, we're not targeting the responses here, right? We're focused on the stimuli. B, graduated guidance. Graduated guidance has to do with physical prompting, and this is a stimulus prompt. C, stimulus fading. Yes, we have gone from a very bright red circle next to a faint blue circle to the circles being equal. We have faded out that presence of the stimulus by going the opposite way, right? And fading in the blue circle. And then least to most prompting. Well, we're not going least to most here, right? We are going the other way. We're starting with a bigger prompt, a more intrusive prompt, and then decreasing it by fading out the prompt or stimulus fading. Rhonda wants to lose weight, so she consults with the dietitian who also happens to be a behavior analyst. The dietitian tries 2 interventions, a DRI with a punishment procedure and a DRI without any punishment. Both interventions are seemingly effective, but Rhonda says she would like to use the one with punishment. What should the dietitian do? All right, let's think about ourselves in the dietitian's shoes, right? Because she is also a behavior analyst, meaning she has to adhere to our ethical code. Rhonda wants to lose weight, and so the dietitian says, I have 2 options, a DRI with punishment and a DRI without. Now, for the most part, we try to avoid punishment, right? We want to start with just reinforcement or just extinction. Use punishment only as necessary. If both are effective, though, and Rhonda, the client, says she wants the one with punishment, what is the dietitian going to do as a behavior analyst? A, use a differential reinforcement procedure without punishment to avoid punishment since both interventions are effective. Normally, yes, but since Rhonda is the client and she's okay with the punishment and she wants the one with punishment, then we should go with Rhonda because both are effective. Let's go with the client chosen intervention. B, use the differential reinforcement procedure with punishment. Yes, let's go with what the client has requested. C, use the intervention that they believe is better based on data and expertise. Well, we don't have data quite yet, right? So we need data. We need to figure out what is effective. But given our information, both are seemingly effective. Start with the one the client wants. D, consult outside empirical evidence to make this decision. The dietitian has already chosen the interventions. We have two interventions that are apparently effective. Might as well use the one the client has chosen and then go from there. So use the differential reinforcement procedure with punishment. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.